Hello, my dear friends. Hello, my dear listeners. How are you all? I hope you are doing best to serve your duties with utmost honesty and love. And we are going to be successful in this sadhana with the blessings of Almighty. With this good wish, let's proceed our journey through the life of our Master Shri Ramkrishna Paramhansa. But Keshab, it must be said, could not assimilate Sri Ramakrishna's ideal in toto. For the new dispensation which he preached was an eclectic religion, a collection of the best things from many religions. Whereas Sri Ramakrishna's ideal was to allow everyone to follow his own bent, whatever it might be, sincerely and wholeheartedly without interference. It was not Keshab Chandra alone, but the entire forward section of the Brahmo movement, comprising Navavidhan and the Sadharan Brahhmo Samaj, that was profoundly influenced by coming in contact with Sri Ramakrishna. The members of both sections found him joining unreservedly in their prayers and songs and naturally concluded that he was one of them. Having realized God in his different aspects, relative as well as absolute, Sri Ramakrishna had no difficulty in guiding these devotees along their own lines, at the same time removing their prejudices so that they might concentrate their whole energy upon the search for God. Knowing that they would not be able to follow his teachings in their entirety, he told them to take as much as they could and reject the rest. The Brahmo Samaj was much benefited by the influence of Sri Ramakrishna. He it was who instilled into the Brahmos the idea of the motherhood of God. Heretofore, their prayers had consisted mainly in praising his many attributes. Sri Ramakrishna taught them to love God more intensely. Why do you dwell so much upon the glories of God? He said one day, addressing Keshab and some of his followers. Does a son, when with his father, think of his father's possessions, his houses, gardens, horses, and cattle? On the contrary, he thinks of his father's love. He knows that it is proper for a father to maintain his children and look out for their welfare. We are all children of God. So, what is there to wonder in his paternal care of us? The real devotee never thinks about these things. He looks upon God as his very own, his nearest and dearest, and says boldly, Thou must fulfill my desires, must reveal thyself to me. If you dwell so much upon his glories, you cannot think of him as your own, nor can you feel intimate with him. You are awed by his majesty. He is no longer near. No, you must think of him as your nearest and dearest. Then only can you realize him. The Brahmos gained a broader and more comprehensive idea about God from the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. He would say to them, None can limit God by saying that he has known all about him. He has form, and again he is without form. Who knows how many aspects he has? To those who thought that God could not have form, that it was a sin to worship him through any image or symbol, Sri Ramakrishna would say, it is true that water is without form, but when it is frozen into ice, it has a definite form. Similarly, the formless Brahman assumes various forms under the influence of an aspirant's devotion. As a toy apple suggests to one the real apple, or a photograph reminds one of one's absent father, so images or symbols help the devotee to the vision of God as he really is. The Brahmos began to understand that there was much significance behind the image worship, a practice which they used to call idolatry. From Sri Ramkrishna, they learned that Brahman and its manifestation are inseparable. Being correlated ideas, each presupposes the other. They realized that a man fell into the same error by saying that God is formless only as the man who tries to confine him to a particular image or symbol. Any conception of God, taken singly, represents only one of his aspects. In reality, God, immanent in the universe, is his aspect with form, without form, but still endowed with attributes. He is called the Ishvara, the creator, preserver, and destroyer of the universe. And as the transcendent reality, the absolute without forms or attributes, he is the substratum of all that is finite, of everything that is conceivable, including even the idea of the Ishvara. It is clear to anyone who thinks at all that such comprehensive understanding of the truth will eventually reconcile all sects and denominations. So, my dear friends, today I am stopping here. But before I have a urge to chant one mantra. Brahmarpanam Brahmavir Brahmagno Brahmanahu Brahmaivaten Gantebhyam Brahma Karma Samadhina.